Signal. Hi everybody, it's Catherine here from Built Environment Skills in Schools. Today I am at Millennium Point in Birmingham city centre. As the name suggests, a building that was created at the Millennium when most of you were probably just being born, if not before. Today we're going to be looking behind the scenes of this incredible building, and I'd just like to introduce you to Rebecca Halbert, who's the marketing manager here at Millennium Point.
Hi everyone, so we are here in Millennium Point. We're in the 5-storey atrium at the moment. So Millennium Point, as Catherine said, was built in the late 1990s and opened in 2001, and it is one of the only landmark buildings that was built around the Millennium time that is still in its current usage. So Millennium Point was built to support STEM and education in the West Midlands, and that's what it still does today, 17 years on. The building was opened by Her Majesty the Queen in 2001, and since then the building's really gone from strength to strength. So we have tenants including Think Tank Science Museum, where some of you will have visited. We have Birmingham City University and their Faculty of Computing, Engineering and the Built Environment. And we also have our own events business. So we've recently undergone a huge construction project, taking over some old units and revamping them into some really state-of-the-art event centres. What else is going on in Millennium Point? So one of the really key things, and that a lot of people don't know, is the building is actually owned by a charity. So Millennium Point Trust owns the building, and the money that is made in Millennium Point is reinvested back into the trust. So the trust then goes to support Think Tank, it goes to support Birmingham City University, and it also supports a lot of schools. And one of the amazing things about Millennium Point is that we have a scholarship, and it's something that probably not enough people know about, but we work with Birmingham City University's Faculty of Computing, Engineering and the Built Environment, and we give one student a year a free undergraduate degree there. So if it's coming up to your sort of sixth form time, then make sure you check it out. It's millenniumpoint.org.uk/scholarship, and there's all of the information there. So you could be one of the lucky people coming here and studying for free.
Brilliant, thank you. And obviously a building like this that has got such an investment in STEM, in Think Tank, in construction, built environment. Yeah. This is a real focus for you, isn't it? This is something the building lives to do.
It is. One of the really cool things about the building is 40% of the whole building has to be for STEM. So actually you can see just behind us the race cars that are built in Birmingham City University. There's all sorts going on here. There are so many kind of new inventions, new ideas happening here. And that is really key for us. And what possibly hasn't happened enough over the last couple of years is a real focus on STEM. And now we're making sure that all of the events that happen here are really focused on that, and making sure that we're able to support local people in Birmingham to kind of finding out more about science and about engineering. So yeah, lots of exciting things happening.
Fantastic, thanks Rebecca.
No problem.
We're now going to go behind the scenes of this incredibly complicated building with some experts here who are going to tell us a little bit about how it all works. Let me introduce you to Facilities Manager Ash. Hi there.
Hi. So what we're going to show you now is we're just going to walk through into what we class as our auditorium space. Many of you may know it if you're from the local Birmingham area as the old IMAX cinema in Millennium Point, which many of you may have come to watch some of the premieres we had. A couple of years ago it actually shut down as an IMAX cinema and has reopened as a large auditorium event space. So as we walk through, I'll just show you what it looks like now. It looks very similar to what it did as an IMAX cinema, but what we're trying to do is we're changing this into a different type of event space. And in order to achieve that, we've got to upgrade and look at some of our mechanical, electrical, or M&E as we say, structures and infrastructure that we've got within the auditorium space. So we'll just give you a quick overview of what it looks like, and then we will take you and show you some of the air handling units which run the air conditioning systems in this different space.
Wow, look at this, kids. This is quite an impressive cinema. So what is this used for now? Do people rent this privately, or is this...
Definitely, yeah. The scope of this has changed quite a lot in the last few months. So it was being used as a lecture hall for quite a while, but that is now changing and is now going to be used as a conference for Birmingham. We're one of the largest areas that actually can accommodate that many people. So that makes this a really good space. But at the same time, there's a lot of technical stuff that goes on the side of that. So we've got AV, we've got electrical and mechanical. So we've got a whole air conditioning system in order to regulate the temperature in here. And also lots of other things such as electrical, plumbing, heating. There's underfloor heating in here to make sure that people can stay warm if we need to. So all that's got to be run by different mechanical and electrical systems. We've got an on-site principal contractor called Domec Limited, and Shane is one of our technicians
pleased to meet you.
from Domec, and he's able to tell us a little bit more about the mechanical electrical system and some of the units that they service here. And one of the principal units they service is our air handling units, which I mentioned circulate the air using motors, and they regulate the temperature in here. So we'll go along and we'll go up onto the gantry system and have a little look, and we can show you what they are, and you can get a better understanding of how we use them to control spaces such as this, which are huge, obviously.
Fantastic. And for anyone watching this live, the reception occasionally is getting a little bit shaky because this is quite a big building with a lot of metal and concrete in it, but hopefully you're able to keep up with what we're saying. But do post questions live as we're going as well if you've got other thoughts or you miss what's being said.
And it's worth mentioning that this whole space is sound controlled. So when it was an IMAX cinema, the sound control was so good that you could be watching a live broadcast of a Fast and Furious film, but just outside here where we are, you would have no idea that's being played. That's how good the sound system was, because there's awfully public areas through here, and people needed to be able to be here and not hear what was going on in the cinema. So therefore, the sound system was that good that we could control that.
I think it's 15,000 watts of a Dolby sound.
And what kind of acoustics, sort of deadening or sound?
I think it's about 6 inches of soundproofing.
Wow.
So which case nothing normally gets through.
Yeah.
And the screen itself, before it was slightly adjusted, used to be the second biggest in Europe, which is a bit of a quest.
That's incredible, isn't it?
But
that would be quite a way to watch a Fast and Furious
it
that's
definitely.
the sound and screen.
It's going to go 2 flights of steel staircase.
So where we are now, these are something called, this is actually a fire escape, so therefore it's got to be kept clear at all times. This is the primary escape measure if we did have a fire on site, but we've got lots of different fire systems and fire suppression systems which would ever stop this happening, which have to be tested monthly, weekly, annually. We've got smoke curtains, fire extinguisher, fire suppression systems, which would mean that we would never have the event where a fire would need to spread. What we've also got is a 24-hour security system on site. So there's constantly security guards here 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and they're also monitoring the whole site through approximately 130 cameras. So wherever you go on site, chances are you will be being watched, but that's for your own protection as well. So as we come upstairs, we're now up on the 5th floor.
An interesting fact, this is actually the extracts coming from the auditorium. So basically what they do is they'll take the hot air that's coming into the top of the auditorium and they'll suck it out, so in which case they could control temperature a lot more.
Wow.
Okay, just want to go through it. Watch yourself in the gantry. Don't look down.
Oh, anyone with a fear of heights, look away now, but oh my goodness. Wow, look at all of this. This is what it takes to power a building this complicated. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's all the way down. So it still supports all the way up for the gantry. So this is quite a small air handler. It's not actually that big. This is probably about a third of the size that we'd have on the roof. On the roof we probably have something that's about, yeah, like I say, about 3 times as big. So it simply works is it takes fresh air in from these ducts, which is just over there, comes in, goes into the first system, which would be actually, if it's very, very cold, be a frost-stat, which is basically a radiator or a coil that basically the air goes through, and as it goes through, it actually picks up the heat. Obviously, we don't use the frost coil unless it's really, really bad weather, so it's -2 or 3 outside. Then we go into the cooling stage, which is another coil which is supplied by our chillers on the roof, which drops the water down to about 7 degrees Celsius. So in which case, once it goes through the coil, you'll get air which comes in about 9, which would obviously be too cold, but we can regulate it. So on a really hot day, you can throw down 9 Celsius cold air. And on a really cold day, you can then go through the next coil, which is the heating coil. Now that will basically, it goes up to about 40 Celsius, which nobody wants. You don't want to be watching the cinema at 40 Celsius, because I guarantee after 10 minutes you'll be asleep. But normally what it happens is you have 2 valves and they will rock in between. So we've set the temperature at 21, so it gets to 23, the hot valve closes down, and as it closes down, the cooling valve opens, so in which case you'll get a lot more cold air going in. And then once it gets to 21, they'll both close down. Another sensor in the auditorium will eventually pick up heat, and it will just keep doing it, going through that rocker stage where obviously cooling then hot water heating something. Also, these have been taken out nowadays. These are humidifiers. Now these were used in the projection room when we used to actually have proper film, 70 mil. Used to be stored in huge cools, but unfortunately nowadays everything's digital. So it's just a hard drive. You plug it in, you press play, it's gone. So these are being slowly removed because we don't need to put moisture into the auditorium or the projection area at all.
So does that just have its own air conditioning to keep
basically in the past you'd have to have its own cooling system, because there'd be a 1,000-watt lamp which would be running that projector,
right,
and that would generate huge heats, and if it wasn't cool for less than 10 minutes, the lamp would go, the cinema would stop, and you'd have lots and lots of people complaining. Right. So it had its own cooling system for that. Right. But nowadays it's a projector, which as you can get in your house, obviously it's a bigger version, and it's just got its own little aircon system to it, which basically just blows cool air over the lamp so it doesn't burn out. And this is the pipework supplying the hot water, and then in the copper is, as you can see going up, is the cool water, and that's just the valves there and the actuators. And it's actually supplied by belt fans. So we have to check for maintenance, we check the belts, we check the motors, which is simply just open up, have a look through the cage and visually inspect them.
And is that part of the role that you play here, to keep a check on everything, make sure it's running okay?
I'm here to look after the whole building, including air handlers, you name it, and I'll have to look after it really. So.
And what's your background? How did you come to be doing this job?
Oh, well, I used to work in retail about 20 years ago, and I got bored of working weekends. I actually got a job in the University of Birmingham, realised that I didn't need to work weekends, then retrained, because I was thinking later on I'd like to do a few jobs closer to retirement that, I can still do and be active, so I retrained as a plumber. And then I got on site as a site engineer, and ever since then I've been slowly learning different bits of kit, from aircon to air handlers, to compressors, to projectors, to cinemas.
So did it come as a surprise to you when you were first looking at sort of learning plumbing, what's actually involved in this kind of work? Because I guess for kids watching this, they would imagine plumbing to be sinks and
plumbing is quite straightforward, but it leads you on to other things.
Okay.
Once you complete plumbing, you can go into gas, go into pipe fitting, you can then go into mechanical works as well.
Okay.
You can then work for a museum, or you can just toilet bash, which is probably not the most interesting job, and probably won't want to do it. But it's like everything, everywhere you go you'll have different toilets and stuff like that, so it's slightly different. It's still the same, but there is a variation. But then obviously you branch out, and on sites like this you kind of like asked to kind of like, can you have a look at this, can you do that? So which case gives you experience in different areas.
Fantastic. So there you go, kids. If you're looking at career opportunities, this is the kingdom that you could be in charge of. Look at this. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, as you've learned there from Dominic, who says our principal contractor on site, and Shane is one of our principal engineers. He's been here a long time, so he's got a lot of knowledge about the site, but his role varies, and we've got a permanent team of 5 engineers who sit on site, one of them who's the manager, and then there's 4 that sit underneath him, and they vary across. They're all very broadly skilled, so they can pretty much do everything and anything. But each one of them will have their own skills. So some of them might be electrically trained, some of them might be plumbing trained, some of them might be more mechanical and engineering trained. But what we've also got is, whilst they will do the bulk of our work, we've also got a number of other contractors we might call in for specialist work, such as our fire systems, which I was talking about earlier. So that would be specialist work. So if you're into that kind of that engineering side of things, understand how sprinkler systems might work, hopefully always for testing reasons. Therefore, that would be another specialist engineering build that people get involved in, and that we rely on them heavily because they do all of our planned works. We've also got other engineers who come on site and do all our lighting, so they're more electrically trained, and they'll come on site and test all of our emergency systems. And every year, or twice a year actually, we do something called a dark test. That's where we essentially turn out all the lights in the building and just leave our emergency lights running. So we can see those, what we call the running green man signs. So you'll see them above doors generally, and you've got the man running the post. That'll show you where the fire exits are. So they'll be testing everything like that. And we've got a number of different smaller contractors who'll test that specialist equipment for us, as and when our own on-site contractors may not be able to do the work because it needs specialist equipment or tools or knowledge. And then on top of that, we've got all of our AV equipment. So that's all our computing, engineering systems, all the stuff that backs up. What Shane was saying, where you need a hard drive most days now to do a lot of work, we actually sometimes need computer engineers and computering technicians to come in and do more work for us. So we're relying a lot more on that side of things, where a lot of stuff can be done remotely off-site, wiring into our systems, more so than we do actually sometimes need people on site. So there's a whole range of different things you can get involved in to work on a site like Millennium Point, which is obviously relatively iconic in Birmingham, but there's so many different facets of skills that are required to work here and make this a successful place to work and to visit. And I'd encourage anyone to come and visit, of course.
And someone like you needs a fairly broad oversight to be able to manage all of those contractors and keep an eye on what's happening. And
yeah, so what I'd say is when you're learning different subjects at school, that's essentially what it's kind of like to work in facilities and any sort of M&E kind of background, is a lot of the time it's working on lots of different things all at the same time. So you might be working on one project which is to do with the mechanical and electrical side of things, and then you might be working on another project which is the renovation of a space where you need specialist painters or different architects to work on that. And then you might be working on another project which is to do with the cleaning contract, to make sure the cleaning contract's running. When you walk on a site, you want it to look nice and clean, and you want bins to be empty, floors to be swept, but there's a little bit more that goes to that, based on the type of materials that need to be used. So you need to have an oversight of that, and then you might have a security contractor as well, and you need to manage them in terms of performance and where they're going, what they're doing, the fact that they're on site, their visibility. So it's a case of...
This video will be up on Facebook, so if you've got questions, if you've got comments, if you want to talk to the guys here, please do put your comments up and I'll circulate those. Let me just say thank you very much and goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.